Hey everyone, welcome back to the video. Today I'm going to be doing my Giants Valorant rebuild. This is going to be my last rebuild video for EMEA before I get into that full recap video for all of the EMEA rebuilds. Mainly the teams that I'm doing just one change on. There's no, I guess the two change teams I would have already covered. So we just got Carmine Core, Fnatic, Vitality, and Foot, which I all made changes to, kind of. So make sure to stay tuned for those in the next video, and then we're on to Pacific, which should be very interesting. Lot of different teams there that should be making changes, but overall, I think this rebuild is actually my favorite team that I made. I think in terms of teams that I did full scale rebuilds on, I think this team is the best out of all of them. So if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Really helps me out. Let me know what you guys think of the rebuild in the comments below. And yeah, go follow me on Twitter. I've been tweeting a lot more, specifically as Roster Mania has been kind of starting up here with Sentinel signing Narrate and Bang, Gen G making their maybe not making changes, but letting their players walk and kind of explore options and stuff. A lot of different stuff going on, so I'll be reacting to all that over there, as well as possibly trying to stream on Twitch sometimes. Not a ton. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, go follow me on both of those. Links are in the description, and yeah, let's get right into it. So before we get into what this team is going to be doing in 2025, we have to talk about exactly what they did in 2024. They got 10th, 11th at kickoff, instantly went out in that four-team group with, I think they had Foot, Heretics, and Carmine Core, which was just, impossible to get out of anyway, even if they were a solid team. But then they replaced Nookie with Purpo, which was interesting. I still think Nookie's a good player, and I still think he could get an opportunity in Tier 1 and make use of it, but I don't think he's going to at this point. Then they went 1-4 in stage one with Purpo kind of struggling, not really having a true identity. Not they were not good in any area during stage one. Then they replaced Redgar with Famesy. I think that was slightly through stage two or something. I don't exactly know. And then they went 2-3 in stage two, which was, I don't know. I really don't feel like that they were that much better in stage two, but they just played Navi when they were playing like dog shit, and they barely beat General Mates. And in stage one, they beat BBL. So not the highest bars on these wins, and they were losing to some not great teams like Koi. That's the only really bad loss that they had. I guess Liquid wasn't the best loss. But yeah, just I don't know. Not a good year for this team, obviously. Definitely one of the worst teams in EMEA. And I think they were probably around bottom 10, at least in between Pacific and or Pacific Americas and EMEA. I think they were definitely bottom 10, bottom 5, maybe, depending on how well you think they played or something like that. So, not a good year. And I think this team is going to need to make some big changes. So our goal for this new roster is to build around Cloud with some good veteran talent as well as a few young players to kind of continue improving within this roster. Um, so we'll start with the players that we're removing. It'll be Purpo, Patino, Hoodie, and then we'll also be removing Redgar and Famesy, but I didn't really feel like spending a ton of time on them because who cares? Um, they're already going to be gone in real life. They're going to be gone here. I don't think Famesy played well in the or at well enough in the short amount of time that he had, and then I don't think Redgar was good at all throughout the year. So I didn't feel like spending a ton of time on them, but I do think these three definitely need some time to be spent on them in terms of why we're getting rid of them. So we'll start with Purpo here, who did start out pretty poorly when joining the team. I do think he got better throughout the year, though. When he got to play the Neon and the Rays, I mean, even his Jet was pretty good towards the end. I think he is actually a pretty good player. I was pretty high on him coming in, assuming that he would play flex. He did not end up playing that, so he kind of again started out a little bit disappointing. But they're going to keep him in real life. I think that's a good move, honestly. I'm okay with that. I just like the option that I'm bringing in just a little bit better than I'd like Purpo. So kind of unfortunate for him, but still a very good player. Then now we have Patino, who is a player that I've been a little bit lower on for quite a bit now, dating back to like 2023 champs, maybe a little bit before that. I just never really saw it with him. He was always a lot worse in those like big pressure elimination games. Like every time they would play an elimination game, he would play poorly, whether it be within EMEA, at Champions, at Sao Paulo, wherever. He just was always kind of disappearing in those games. He was generally a really good player in the rest of the games. But I just, when you have a duelist that doesn't perform in those big games, it is kind of hard to continue playing them on that role. So he has good mechanics. He's a good player, which is why I want to see him on Sentinel in the future. Maybe go down to tier 2, like it says here, and kind of prove that he's good at that role, and then he can come back up to tier 1 or something like that. But overall, I just want to see him in a different setting. Maybe get a change of scenery. If he goes to a different team in real life, like I'm pretty sure they're letting him go in real life, and if he goes to a different tier 1 team, then I think that would be a good move for another team possibly to kind of revive his career there. But overall, I just, again, he needs to prove it, which he has not done, at least in 2024. Last up here, we have Hoodie, who is just a mid player, honestly, in every aspect he can play. Flex, he can play Sentinel, both pretty mid. He can, I mean, I think he could probably play Smoke, so to be pretty mid at that as well. I mean, he's not a bad player in any sense of the word, but he doesn't give like game to game upside that maybe even a Patino would on Sentinel or something like that. Like when you have these like cracked mechanical players, they could have worse games than Hoodie does. But I mean, Hoodie can even have really, really bad games because his mechanics just are not good enough uh, to like compete at a super high level. So he'll have really bad games. But sometimes you'll get like these super high mechanical players that will do a little bit of trolling in the mid round and stuff like that, and kind of still end up with that like low KD, I guess, like low statistical games. But Hoodie is doesn't give you like the high end gameplay that maybe some of those other players would, like the guy that we're bringing in, who I don't think does any real mid round trolling or anything like that. I think he's pretty solid, but still, point stands. I need somebody else in here who is maybe a little bit better mechanically than Hoodie is. So we pretty much need everything except for a scan initiator here with Cloud. I think there's some rumors that Cloud is going to be the IGL in real life. I'm not going to do that here. I have a better option. Um, and yeah, I think we'll just get straight into these players here. So for available duelists, you have Zeus, I believe, pays, and then potential like imports and whatnot. For flex players, you have Drain, Patty Tech, your boy Lewis. For controllers, you have Ruxic, Patty Tech as well, who's played controller a bit in the past. And for IGLs, you have Brody, Crystal, as well as a bunch of other like random names that I don't think are super great. So you'll notice that I didn't really talk about Sentinels in that last segment, which is because we're going to pick up Westside in this series as well as Giants in real life. They kind of signed him, and I'm like, all right, I'll go check him out, just because I think that was like one of the first like tier 2 player signings that got leaked. And yeah, I liked him a lot, and I'm like, all right, I'll just pick him up in the Giants rebuild just to kind of fill that slot. And yeah, I think he's a very mechanically gifted player, exactly what I want from this role. And I think there were other players that like were closely ranked within this role in EMEA tier 2, so I decided to go with Westside here just because he got picked up in real life, so might as well. Then we have Crystal, who is a player that I really, really, really like. I was amazed he didn't get picked up going to the 2024 season. He had a great year with Scars, playing like pretty much everything for that team and IGLing them to the Pacific Ascension Grand Final. He's a great individual. I think he'd be like close to the top half, maybe like 6 or 7, which is actually really good in terms of initiator players in EMEA. and then like one of the better like top 5 flex players in EMEA as an individual, which is very very good. He'll end up playing flex like the KO like flash initiator stuff here because Cloud is our scan. But he just play a ton of different stuff if you need him to. He can play the scan, he can play the flex. He's played some duelists as well. I think he could probably play a little bit of smokes here and there, but I'm not huge on that. I just think he's a really, really good IGL on top of all of that. So yeah, just a great player here. I think it would be a travesty if he doesn't get picked up by a team in real life as well. Then we're going to be picking up Patty Tech, who again would kind of be a travesty to not pick up in this series at all. Um, he's going to be playing smokes for this team, which, I mean, admittedly, probably is not his best role, but I think he's the best option for this role. Um, I really like Patty Tech like before he joined Heretics as well, specifically when he was playing that smokes role. So I still think he's very solid at that, and he's just an overall really really good support player. So getting him in here is going to be a very very big boost to kind of set up some of his teammates here and just be a really 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 good player, like a Masters winning level player. Because I mean, Heretics almost did that, and they almost won champs, but that was without him. And so yeah, just one of the best players in EMEA coming into this team, and this team is looking more stacked by the minute. Then a player that some of you might not expect here, I think most of you probably won't. I'm going to be picking up Victor for my duelist player. Now, I know, I know people like Zeus. I'm not a huge fan of him, specifically for this team as well. I think the only thing he does in an elite level is op, um, and Victor is just a good opper, a really really good entry player. He can play all 3 of the main duelists. Um, I mean, everybody knows Victor. He's very very good, and I think being teamless in NA was kind of unfortunate for him. I just like some of these other options better for these NA teams, and he kind of got left out there. So coming over to EMEA here, filling in this slot for Giants, I think is really good, especially being a selfless player here to set up maybe Crystal to trade him out, Cloud to trade him out, Westside, Patty Tech, being a stacked roster around him is just, that looks so good in my eyes. So this will be our final roster here: Victor, Crystal, Cloud, Patty Tech, and Westside. I talked about all these players pretty much, except for Cloud, I guess. I mean, he's just been a really, really good player for Giants their whole like stint franchising. So you got to keep him around here. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Um, Again, potentially making him the IGL could get a little weird, but I do believe in him to be able to do that if they do switch over. It's just going to be a bit of a question mark on that team if they end up keeping him there. So let me know what you guys think of this roster in the comments below. I think some people will really like this one more than the other ones in EMEA. And then we're going to be moving on to my EMEA recap video, and then on to Pacific after that. So make sure to stay tuned for all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.